I don't think I've ever been so annoyed by a great phone before. I've been testing and playing with a new smartphone that's a borderline miracle of technology because it costs practically nothing and includes practically everything you need. And it comes with a gimmick that's so inspired and brave that it makes me want to scream at how at the last moment it pulled back its best idea in fear. This is the CMF Phone 1 by nothing, and I love it. And I hate it. I both it. If you're not familiar with the Nothing brand, that company has already released a name for itself by releasing relatively affordable Android phones with some neat gimmicks, like a light-up glyph system. This new phone comes from a newer sub-brand of Nothing called CMF. CMF will focus on ultra-affordable gadgets and already launched earbuds, a watch, and this phone. And when I say ultra affordable, the first thing you should know about this device is that it's just $200. We're going to talk about that price a lot, and we're going to ask a question frequently. Who is this phone for? I want you to think about that when looking at the CMF Phone 1. What you get for $200 is both shockingly a lot and unsurprisingly very little. Let's start with what it does have, namely a very large AMOLED screen that works well even in bright skies. It's fluid, thanks to a 120Hz refresh rate, and the bezels are plenty small. The processor is a MediaTek Dimensity 7300 5G, which isn't something you'd normally find in a smartphone, but works well enough. And it's backed up by 8GB of RAM plus 8GB of RAM booster. It is even somewhat future-proof thanks to Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.3 support. Pack in a large battery and you have a good-looking smartphone that lasts all day. The cameras, or well, rather camera, situation is a little less impressive. On the front you have the usual selfie 16 megapixel lens, and on the back you get one main 50 megapixel lens and a depth sensor. And that actually feels misleading because when you look at the back of the phone it looks like it has two cameras. But this is a depth sensor and it's mostly a background item that assists your main camera. You don't get an ultra wide or a telephoto lens. And that leads into the things you won't get. You won't find NFC, wireless charging, Gorilla Glass. You won't find water resistance here. Basically protection against drips. Also missing is full support for US carriers, we'll get into that more later, and always on display despite the AMOLED screen, and fast wired charging. But after that list, I feel compelled to point out, it's a $200 phone. Something had to go, and most of the corners nothing cut here, like wireless charging, won't be missed. And that's fine, because again, you have to ask, who is this phone for? Who would want to spend just $200 on a phone? That'd either be someone on a tight budget, someone buying for a child, or someone who knows they break phones easily so don't want to spend a lot of money. And that means you also don't want to buy accessories like wireless charging pads. And frankly, considering that the CMF Phone 1 is barely compatible with US carriers, more on that in a bit, it's pretty clear that this isn't necessarily for the average American, even though you can buy it through a beta program. The primary target is other countries, many of which don't use Google Payments or in some cases can't use it, so no loss on the NFC, and many of which don't care about wireless charging or fast wire charging, so no loss there. These are the exact right corners to cut out for the true intended audience. But that's not all that makes the CMF Phone 1 special. You get something most other phones don't offer, especially at this price: customization. Some call it modularity, but I don't think that's the right word. Nothing offers several accessories for the CMF Phone 1 that you can swap out on the device. That includes options like a kickstand, a lanyard, and a card case add-on. On top of that, you can remove the back and replace it with a different color option. I've got blue on right now. It's fairly easy to do. Just remove some screws, the SIM card slot, and a large thumb turn screw, and the back comes right off. Well, with some finger grip strength needed. And look, there's so many brave choices here, because for $200, this phone is downright amazing. It even has expandable storage. Sure, it doesn't feel quite as premium as a $1,000 phone, but it punches way above its true cost. The screen looks great, and shockingly, the processor performs well enough. You can actually use it for casual gaming, as long as you don't go after Android's most demanding titles. But if you're into Temple Run or Subway Surfers, you won't find much in the way of stutters or lag here. Even the camera does better than I expected. In bright light, it takes good photos. Sure, you can't zoom in much without ruining the photos since you don't have a telephoto lens, but for the casual social media post, it's just fine. Things do fall apart in darker settings, but again, you can't ask too much of a $200 phone. As for the selfie camera, I have mixed feelings. If you turn on the background blur portrait view, it does a decent job of cutting out the subject outline. But I think the blur on the background is too extreme, which leaves the subject feeling too crisp by contrast. But if you look at this picture where I turned background blur off, somehow the scenery still feels muddy, even on a bright day. It's not the worst selfie photos I've ever seen, but definitely not the best either. Overall, it's what you'd expect considering the price point. And as far as video goes, it's totally serviceable. This is 4K 30, and we're using the phone's microphone for the audio as well. And as you can see, while it won't win any awards, it's not garbage either, unlike this robot lawnmower I previously reviewed. Check that one out. Even Nothing OS is nice, and I don't usually like Android skins, but something about the black and white aesthetic here works, although it's marred by apps that can't follow the theme. If you handed me this phone and told me nothing about it, I'd never guess it was just $200. I'd easily peg it as a $500 or $600 phone, and that's a triumph and down to some really elegant choices. Unfortunately, it doesn't fully work on every network in the US. In my case, if I connected up to AT&T towers I use, I wouldn't get 5G. And CMF outright recommends you don't use it on Verizon at all. T-Mobile's customers should be golden though. In my opinion, the customization feature honestly adds something to the package. It's like a little ecosystem. I couldn't get a hold of the lanyard or the card case, but I did manage to snag a second back and a kickstand. I didn't think I'd like the kickstand because I assumed it'd get stuck in my pocket, but it's not bad. I don't ever see myself using it, so I'm just as likely to take it off. But I can see the appeal for someone who does watch a lot of video on their phones, and the custom back made me feel like I could make this phone mine. Especially now that Nothing released STL files for the back cover and accessory plates. I haven't had any luck 3D printing the entire back cover, but the accessory plate is easy to print, though you'll need to provide longer screws. But if you have a 3D printer, you can go wild with customizing your phone, and that's something you don't see even with more expensive phones. Each back comes with a set of screws, a dial, and a SIM card slot. But there's no reason you have to use what comes in the box. You can mix and match, even if it's opting to stay with some default black screws and the thumb turn, and maybe the SIM card slot. That's what I did here. I really like what Nothing has done with this customization idea, and I hate it. Because for all of Nothing's bravery at letting you swap the back on your phone using just a screwdriver, at the very last second, the company chickened out. In yesteryear, in the time before slab touchscreen phones, taking the back off a phone wasn't that unusual at all. But you didn't do that to customize it, you did that to change its battery. Back then that was necessary because phones often didn't make it through a day, and swapping a battery was faster than charging, plus they went bad quickly. But seriously, that was like a normal feature of phones. Not anymore. Now every phone features a glued back with a sealed battery. And the CMF Phone 1 almost changed everything by offering a removable back. Because again, who is this phone for? At $200, someone on a tight budget is a clear answer to that question. And if you can repair a broken device, it will cost less than buying new, even at $200. So what if you could easily replace the battery? What if you could easily change out the display? What if it were really modular? Unfortunately, it's not. By the way, it'd also be unfortunate to watch this much of this review and not subscribe to the channel. I have more tech news and reviews coming, including a set of augmented reality glasses and a video about creating your own Spotify car thing for less than $100. Don't miss out. Open up the back of the CMF Phone 1 and you'll be greeted with a sticker that tells you, "Do not disassemble the battery and related parts without authorization." It's a sticker that you'd surely have to rip apart to get to the parts under it. Now in the US at least, that sticker means absolutely nothing. The US rules state that modifying your device, even when stickers like this are present, will not void your warranty as long as you didn't break it in the process. But that's still a barrier, a literal barrier when you consider the sticker, especially to the average person that might see that warning and believe they should heed it. Nothing is actively discouraging you from attempting to repair the phone. And I just don't understand why. It's not about avoiding screws in favor of glue because the back is screwed on. I don't know why Nothing made this decision, but my best guess is a lack of courage. The idea of letting your customers repair your phones is something that does take bravery, and I just wish that Nothing had gone just a bit further, because this is honestly my only complaint about the phone. It's so close and for no good reason is so far. At the end of the day, the CMF Phone 1 is a bundle of miracles for $200. It looks fantastic, it works well, and it even offers a bunch of optional accessories that let you further customize an already eye-catching phone. In a world of phones that all look like the same touchscreen candy bar, it's a breath of fresh air. But I want to be able to take it apart, because the people this phone is truly for would benefit from being able to replace the battery and maybe other parts too. I suspect it's not even that hard, but I can't confirm that because I have to send this back. So here's a question for you. Do you want to see me try to take this phone apart? Because I'm willing to try, but that means buying another CMF Phone 1 that I can potentially destroy. Do you want to see me try it? Then help me out. If I get enough super thanks donations on this video to cover the cost of buying a CMF Phone 1, that'd be around $230 after taxes, then I'll buy one. And I'll rip it apart and see how easy it would be to actually replace the battery right on camera. It's up to you. So would I recommend this phone? If you're in the US and not on T-Mobile, then no. If you're in the US and on T-Mobile, or you live anywhere else nothing supports, then yes, absolutely. If you're looking for a budget phone that doesn't look or act like one, this is it. It has a decent-ish camera, a snappy and nice looking OS, and the phone itself is a joy to use. Honestly, the CMF Phone 1 is one of the most interesting phones I've tried in years, and it's a great first entry. I look forward to a hopefully more repairable phone too, maybe with 2 actual cameras. And other phone companies should really take notice because phones can be interesting, and accessories can be made really well. Thanks for watching, and until next time, bye!